Previously on Chaser.
Who do you think you are?
And where is it you need to go?
To Mars. I have to find a guy there. Name of Stone. He's the key to my memories. I believe that if I locate him, I'll be able to find out who I am.
Samuel Longwood, president of the Mars Corp company, has been assassinated. A powerful charge exploded in the Goddard tunnel at the moment his armored train
Perfect
was
work, General. Every planned undertaking in the key positions in the company was a success. Mars Corp is falling apart. They no longer have the capacity to react to our activities. It's a great day. A great day for Mars and a great day for us. Victory is ours. But the day is not yet over. According to my instructions, in the event of success, you must all proceed to HQ.
But practically nobody knows where it is.
I'll show you the way.
You? You were the main connection with the command? I don't believe it. Right under Longwood's nose all the time. I thought you were fencing contraband for the miners. Come to think of it, though, I should have known something wasn't right. In view of what a poor bartender you were.
Which is the reason I'm coming with you. My services aren't required here anymore, and I've had enough of the sight of these drunken miners grinning mugs to last me a lifetime.
I hope there aren't any mirrors at HQ.
Until now, we've communicated with the outside world only by means of the faithful. You certainly understand that the use of any product of so-called modern civilization in order to connect with the outside world would have been suicide. The only way to protect the command from the company and its electronic eyes and ears was to return to the Stone Age. I'm glad this will now be able to change. This is an old base that was never completed. The Russians thought they could build wherever they landed. But when the whole southern sector collapsed, they packed the vodka and moved to the Tharsis Plateau. This is better now.
Better for the Russians or for us?
Watch your step. Everything is built on unstable soil. It's been completely avoided for some time. Which is why no one guessed that we were so far north of the other colonies. Our subterfuge was successful. Somebody's been observing us. It's impossible. Warn the command underground. Run! Warn Castor that we have a traitor among us, that he shouldn't trust anyone. That they can't get into the computer. Destroy the list. Watch for the automatic protection.
Hello and welcome back to the final episode of Chaser. You can see that Sid and Jay are now dead, so we're in a little bit of a pickle. Behind us appears to be the entire Mars Corp army, so we need to find our way forwards. The room which we're in is strangely large. There's really nothing to do here, and I'll show that by just exploring a little bit, but it'll give me time to just go over a few things. This particular episode has been split up into 4 parts, mainly because this final section is about 2 hours long, and that's including all of the edits for deaths and things. This episode consists of about 4 levels just pieced together, including the ending credit sequence, which we'll find obviously in the 4th part. At the end of each part, I'll be giving a little rundown of the people who failed to guess the correct answer in the Chaser Deaths Count competition, and in the final episode, we'll slowly just reveal who the winner is. Back to the game, however, and let's kind of take stock of where we are. We're in the middle of a Russian military base which has been abandoned because, basically, as the cutscene said, the soil is unstable, and while that's not particularly apparent at the moment, it will become a major factor later on. It would appear that this lift is the only way down, so we pretty much have to commit to that. There's no need to really worry about the AI catching up with us. It's not really a chase sequence, we just kind of plod along as slowly or as quickly as we feel like. The rebels themselves are hunkered down fairly deep in the base. For the moment we really don't have much to worry about, we just have to take care of the automatic defences. I had said before in previous levels that we were going to be coming across a lot more turrets, and this is where it all kicks in. Fancy little door effect, it's a shame we never see it again. As an indication of just how awkward these turrets are going to be, this first one pretty much sums it all up. You really have no warning that it's going to be there, you pretty much just step out and take damage the very first time you see it. Luckily we've still got a few explosive rounds left over from the last level, so we can make use of those. Not that they really do all that much help. More than a little irritating, there's 2 armor pickups lying on the ground when we really could have done with an armor and health. Even though we do have maxed out armor, just a hit or 2 and we'll be dead anyway, so we might as well have not picked it up at all. This pretty much sums up this entire episode. I'm pretty much always on the verge of dying, and while that will make the death count considerably higher, it seems to be just a factor of how I play games. I always get myself into the worst possible situations and enjoy trying to muscle my way through. Going back to the cutscenes for just a moment, Sid had suggested that there was more than one operation currently active by the Rebellion, meaning that destroying Longwood's train was just one factor of that, and in fact alluded that subsequent to that, a lot of Mars Corp had been taken down from the inside by Rebellion moles of sorts. It's a little strange to think that a corporation so deeply invested in Martian culture would just belly up so quickly, but apparently it has. You'd think there'd be riots in the streets and stuff like that, but we really don't see any kind of evidence for that, so we have to take Sid's word for it. You can see here that I jumped into a hole in the ground just to avoid one of the sentry guns. For the most part I'll actually be trying to destroy them wherever I can, because they have a nasty habit of just always being present and just getting in your way. In fact, it's more than likely that I'll end up coming in from the other side of that corridor and just come face to face with the sentry gun, so I probably should have destroyed it then. This particular level has 2 main features. It has the corridors with the sentry guns, and it has these large boxy rooms with sentry guns in it as well. Generally it's a case where you'll just kind of go from one to the other, and the cover itself and how it differs from room to room just provides a different kind of challenge for each one. This one's particularly bad because there's not really anything to block with the sentry guns at all. You really just need to be patient, and if there's anything that this game requires, it's a lot of patience. You may have noticed I've been making frequent use of night vision. That's going to be a common thing for the next couple of levels. Things do get very dark indeed. Cool looking gas main explosion just adds a little nice touch to this particular room. You really get the sense that the place is not just unstable, but it is actively falling apart around you. Well, not quite just yet, but it does happen a lot more readily later on. Well, it looks like we need to get up to get down, so let's go ahead and do that. Up here we finally get ourselves some health and another box room with a different layout. We're pretty much in the firing line as soon as we appear, so we have to make a dash for it. Thankfully there was more health just as we got on the lift, otherwise we probably would have never made it up that lift alive. Moving ever onwards, let's see where this room takes us. And as luck would have it, it takes us on the other side of the laser fence that we saw before. If you look over here, you can see that this crate has been sliced up into little bits by the laser wires. I hadn't mentioned it before, but we had shot a barrel which ended up pushing the box through, and as your reward you get to see the box like this. This goes to show you just how dangerous the laser beams are. You really don't want to mess with them. Since I'm now loaded down with health and armour, I can afford to be a little bit more bold when taking out these turrets. They are quite out in the open and there's not really much avoiding it. Unfortunately, I didn't mean to be quite this bold. Now I'm pretty much back where I started in terms of health, but thankfully we've got this mecha to make use of. Here's something unique. This force field, we can walk on top of it, but we can't penetrate it in any way. There's no instance where we come at it from below. I have absolutely no idea where it goes, and it's the only force field of this type that the complex appears to have. Maybe this is the main entrance into the rebel part of the base, I'm not sure. It would stand to reason, but we're not going through it, so we need to find another way to proceed. This appears to be our only other way forwards. We've got a box kind of blocking up the doorway, and we've got another one that's kind of electrified. I'm going to speed this part up because I did waste a lot of time here. I believed that you had to shut the power off so you could actually get on top of the box, but as it turns out you can stand on it with absolutely no ill effects whatsoever. At least that appeared to be the case. I wasn't going to stick around to find out. But it's going to take a little while before I finally realise that and move on. Before we can even consider jumping over, we've got these really awkwardly placed sentry guns, so better take them out quick. If we step out there, we'll just get slaughtered, so it really is a case of just, as I said before, being patient and killing them while you can. The real difficulty comes when you start running out of ammo, because there's no enemies to actually kill and you have to rely on ammo drops and things. Eventually, if you've been pretty wasteful, you can land yourself in a lot of trouble. Luckily for us, there were a number of explosive barrels that helped us take out at least one of the particularly annoying sentry guns. And the old fallback, we can basically take out this sentry gun from far, far away. We don't even have to get close to it. Just fire off once to make it drop down and then shoot at it at our leisure. Here I'm a little dubious as to whether or not I can actually make it under those laser beams, so I decide not to try. Let's go through one of the doors instead. I don't show much of it out of night vision here, but I particularly like this staircase and another one much like it. I think the red lighting is very arresting. I think it's very nice. Certainly makes a change from the steel blue that the rest of the level has. I clearly see that there's laser beams ahead of me and there's no way I'm going to be able to proceed down this corridor, but they're sentry guns and they need to be taken care of. Once that one's down, we can shimmy in a little further and take these guys out at a distance. After that, it's just back up the staircase again and through that little hole in the grating we saw earlier. Nothing to see up top, so it looks like we're going to be heading down. And we're heading towards one of the most memorable bits of this level for me, mostly because of how goddamn difficult it is. Keep an eye on how much health I have going down this and how much I end up with once I get clear. All previous attempts at this level have basically had me in a little crawl space with very little health, and as you can see I took a lot of damage just getting out of there. So if you can imagine not being able to shoot the sentry gun and basically knowing that you're going to take hits and really having like single digit health, you can get extremely frustrated at this part. But if I have managed it, it's kind of a case of just quick loading over and over and over again, and hopefully the random number generator in the game will be nice to you, which most of the time it isn't. But up here we've got some health so we can recharge and take this goddamn thing out. More sentry guns through here, and all the doors are closed, so yeah, it looks like we're gonna have to brave them. Sometimes the level can appear to be unfair just in the cases where you end up with very little health, but it's really your own fault. It does give health and armor fairly regularly, so it's not that bad if you play conservatively, but if you decide to be gung-ho about it, then you're just asking for trouble, and well, I ask for trouble all the time. Here's something a little nifty. We've got a tile here which appears to be reflecting some of the laser beams off to the ceiling. It means it leaves a little gap for us to get through. And over here behind these crates is a ladder which goes down, and the significance of that will come across later on. Nipping underneath through the gap, we've got a little bit of ammo we can pick up, and there's not really much else. The doors themselves are all sealed off. Got another laser fence at the end, and it's kind of flickering on and off, so it is possible to run through, but we'll just backtrack and have a look at this mirror tile thing again. I'm going to be shooting this barrel in a moment, so keep an eye on just the stuff lying around and see what happens to it. If you're anything like me, you'll probably have shot that barrel the very first time you saw it in an attempt to take out a sentry gun nearby. Unfortunately, that would just knock away the mirror tile, so you wouldn't be able to get underneath and pick up the ammo. And it also explains why we've got this ladder behind the crates. It provides a way to get underneath and out to the other side. It's not all bad, however. Once we get up the ladder on the other side, we'll be at the flickering laser fence. We could just run through it, and that way we would be able to pick up the ammo. There's really no puzzle involved in this. You basically have two ways to get some ammo, and none of them are particularly difficult. Either way, we just go straight through this door. A new area. It's basically a donut-shaped rig. We have to make our way from one side to the other. We've got two ways to go, but we've obviously got a lot of sentry guns to take care of first. As you can see there, I managed to get shot while behind the box, which doesn't make things particularly easy for us. Obviously the direction I think we're meant to go is to the right, but if we look at this stack of crates, we can manage to jimmy our way through one side of them. I don't think you're meant to do this. I think you're supposed to go around the unblocked way, but it eventually ends up with a laser beam fence, so I assume you would have to come back. This just happens to be the way I've always gone. We run out of ammo for our big beefy gun, so we've resorted to this 3-shot one. But it'll do us just fine. There's no reason why we shouldn't use it. In fact, it makes things a little bit easier for things at a distance. Thankfully, we'll be able to refill our big gun and some of the grenades for that in just a moment. Touching again on something I'd said earlier, if we had run out of ammo by this point, we'd be pretty much screwed. Especially in this section where it's just sentry gun after sentry gun with really nowhere to hide. If we weren't able to shoot them, then we'd pretty much be dead. Makes me wonder why they didn't put in some infinite ammo type of gun, but well, it's supposed to be realistic, so you kind of have to deal with your problems if you get yourself into that kind of mess. Just up here we've got some ammo for our beefy gun. And just over here we've got some hand grenades which we never really use. Another nice little detail under the floor. Completely superfluous, but still nice. Something about the initial cutscene had always puzzled me. Whenever Sid was dying, he pressed a button on a remote, which seems to have been what activated all of the sentries and the automated defences, but I was always puzzled as to why the sentries didn't open up on Chaser as well. For some reason, after they killed the Mars Corp guys running in, they just kind of deactivated and went away. And now we're back fighting normal guys. You can see I'm aware of that in advance because I take position behind this crate because they kind of just burst out of nowhere and start firing at you immediately. If in fact you had jumped on top of the box and leapt over the laser fence, you would have nowhere to hide, so you were pretty much dead. Quick load here gets rid of the noise of the battle going on around us. It's pretty obvious that it's meant to indicate that the Mars Corp guys have made their way in and they're attacking the general rebel populace. We won't get to see any of that for a little while, but it'll come up. So for now we're just taking out some guys and having a wander through this weird tunnel which, whenever you don't have night vision on, it's pitch black, and when you do have it on you can't make anything out. It's extremely difficult to actually make out the pathway you're supposed to walk on. If you stray anywhere towards the sides of the path you just fall off into some sort of pit, and it's very awkward. Very strange little room. As soon as we got to the end of the tunnel and into this particular corridor, an exoskeleton popped out behind us and started taking some shots. It's pretty cheap, it does get a hit or two in on at you, but there's plenty of health and things in the corridor, so once we take out the sentry it's fine. But still we have to deal with the exoskeleton, and you can see here I'm not really taking any chances. Through this door we've got another red flight of steps, but before we do that we'll just backtrack and go over that laser fence. Not really much here, there's just some health, but down here through this door is a room. You've got a lot of bullet hole decals on the wall, but there aren't any bodies and the only blood is just outside the door itself. It's hard to make sense of what might actually have happened here. There's no way that people could have come out of that door and been shot by the sentry gun. The only thing I can imagine is that they've come the way that we have and they were going into that room and then the sentry gun popped open. But that doesn't make any sense because it would have popped open before they got there. I don't know. Here's a very bad room in terms of gameplay. You basically got a ring and you have to get from this side of it and to the other. But you've got two exoskeleton guys on the opposite side, so you kind of have to take them out from a distance. Once you've done that, you have to make your way over the laser fences, and it's not as easy as it sounds. We'll be able to get over the boxed one pretty simply, but it's the next one which is a little bit awkward. We have to actually climb up the side of the wall and jump that way. At least I think that's the way you're supposed to go. It's the only way I've ever found of getting over it safely. And in fact that'll be the way we'll be getting around pretty much all of this room. We're coming across copious amounts of health and armor, but we're really having a problem with weapons at the moment. The ammo count is getting dangerously low, but we should be fine for now at least. We're getting towards the end of the level and eventually we'll be coming across guys more frequently, so we'll be able to pick up the weapons that they drop at least. The button we just pressed disabled some of the laser beams on the other side of the room, so we have to make our way back. And once we made our way around to where the door is, we find a switch here, and its function appears to be just to re-enable the lasers. It's an interesting little touch. It at least shows a way that those lasers could have been switched on and off from another location, and it's kind of sensible in a fashion. Well, now we're out of ammo for the good weapons, we have to start resorting to the gimmicky ones. We've got the impact bomb, which isn't really going to help us all that much really, and we've got the really shitty submachine gun, which we just kind of have to make do with for now. I said this before, but I have no idea what the hell this ammo is for, and we can't pick any up, so I presume it's going to be for the pistol or the submachine gun, which we just haven't used yet. I'm also having some trouble figuring out if the impact grenade drops along its trajectory. I have no opportunity to actually watch it in flight because I'm being shot at by the sentry gun, so I just have to hope and pray. But in the end it works out okay. Well, moving along, we've got another sentry and I'm finally forced to resort to the submachine gun. It's always a very bad sign when we have to do this. It means we're just going to be in for a lot of trouble. But this is the last opposition that we're actually going to face in this particular level. And of course that means we're going to defeat it in the most boring fashion possible. The corridor dead ends up here, but we can go through this particular door and we're into the final room. There's not really anything to do here, there's just some red soil knocking about and a few explosive barrels we can blow up. In a sense I do like this room a fair bit. I mean, it's fairly nondescript, there's no enemies, there's no interaction or anything that you can actually perform, and really you could have just not had it here and led straight to the exit. But it's interesting in that it gives you an indication as to how the design structure is going to change as the levels come up. We're going to be getting away from the corridors filled with sentry guns and those box rooms with the sentries in each corner. It just shows that we're going to be coming across places that are more under construction than anything else, and there's going to be machinery and things dotted about. It's a nice bit of a warm-up. Thankfully we do get a little bit of ammo here, so we won't be starting the next level too naked. It's going to be a tough slog and we really need all the help we can get. Pretty much done with the room, so it's time to make our exit down that blue lit corridor that we saw. As a reminder, you'll get a little short list at the end of the next 3 episodes just showing you some of the losers in the competition. But I will see you in the next part.